the being is, in a sense, expected to go through rebirth. If the being is not going through rebirth, which is this is not a discussion that is in this universe entirely at all, not pertaining to this universe at all. If being actually a fairly big word in the baseline of a 93rd and 98th dimension, however, those circumstances are very grand. A being in those dimensions, in those existences and universes, to experience rebirth is far more potent than to experience rebirth here. The difference is that these conditions are unnatural. But those conditions are entirely natural, that's for sure, and pure and honest, and far more eternal. Hence, the quantification of rebirth is that much more powerful. There are not many beings who don't want to go through rebirth. But again, knowing the actuality, knowing basically what's going on, the realization is that impacting, if not much more. And it really is much more. My rebirths were triggered by too much information, just basically a mind overload. My persona could not hold up and collapsed. And because of this, a crescent moon bone formation occurred at the top of my sternum, the middle bone of the chest. I have other symbols as well. To not experience rebirth is to say that evolution is not being fulfilled. If anyone wants to question this, though, I think that you're listening. Let's just say someone questions this. It's then to say that if someone's questioning rebirth, then they are questioning if they actually want to evolve. Because to want to evolve is not to want rebirth specifically, but to expect it and not also prepare for it, but to know that that is what the potential is, and essentially the inevitability. You should face rebirth. You should face who you are, that which is immortal. If you are not to face who you are, which is immortal, then you will be vulnerable to a cycle of shattering either way. Yet even worse, instead of rebirthing as you should, which would be the shattering effect, instead you're living by selective choice that you're unaware of, and your persona is shattering over and over. It's that much harder to rebirth. Essentially, this is why the dark family is. This is why the darkness is. Because in other existences and universes, the baseline being 93rd or 98th dimension, the quantification of rebirth is that much more intense. And that is why there is vengeance. That is why there are that's why there's ultimate beings such as the Dark Family. Their origins are most definitely not of this universe. Their origins, them as beings, occurred because of realizations, but that is going back at a time where time was young. She was young at that time. That's an actuality that I would have to see the documents on myself. I can only touch the surface. I can barely lift the cover of that book itself, where I'm at right now, metaphorically speaking. But in actuality, that's kind of that's pretty accurate. So, for the beings of this planet, there is going to be an extreme ironic realization. These light workers, these spiritualists that frown and denounce those who listen to dark music are going to realize they're living in a far darker world. Because at least those who are listening to dark music are trying to interact with their issues to resolve them. They're trying. They're facing their actuality. They're being honest. And in these obscure circumstances, their appearance, their style, their taste in emotions, uh, words, music, creativity is going to reflect that, and it will tell you bluntly. They want liberation. They want the cycle to end. So, yes, there's going to be an extreme irony. Those who feel that they are living because they believe that because they're in a sense worshiping the light, that that's the actuality, when the actuality is that they are just worshiping light. They aren't living a fulfilling spectrum of ratios that equal eternal potential. Light itself is not eternal. Light will even tell you it's not eternal. That's why the light of a star, far greater in quantifications as far as light worker work goes, yet does not reach this planet. I'm not talking about the sun, which would be being smart, but just in case. Think about it. A star gives off far more light and potential than what persons know as spirituality here. Yet that light does not make it this far. Light is ideal. Light is not even clarification. It's a form of symbolism that is singular to, quote, positive um, expressions. Love, yes, is positive, but this whole idea of positive and negative is is to represent a two-dimensional personality, a two-dimensional way of reacting, a two-dimensional way of being. To be eternal is to fundamentally be everything that you realize in real time, not selective and not choice. Knowing eternity exists, why would belief even be a factor? Eternity is not belief. This is common sense. This I would consider obviousism. My actuality is far different than all other humans I know of. I only know of a few humans I have spoke to, whether on Skype or in real life, that share some similarities that I do, but I know to not the degree, even including the uniquism factor. So, I'm again expressing the reality and the actuality and the naturality of the essences of um, other existences, and I've done plenty of discussions on this existence, or upon this earth, of this earth. This universe is not entirely unnatural, that's for sure. But through discovery, aka actually visiting the unnatural sectors of this universe, which will take place 1 week after the occurrence happens, you may choose to go with irony, and I believe vengeance is going to go, but I'm not sure. Vengeance, no, she's actually going to stay here. Irony is going to go, and fate will go as well.